Hey, this is going to be commentary for chapter 32 of my book Multidimensional, which you can find on Kindle or listen to for free on Google Play, and links are in the description. So chapter 32 is called Chaos Cognition. Now, try to imagine how the brain came to be. Now, we don't really know how the brain came to be. So, and even if we have evidence, if you take the theory seriously, you should doubt the validity of that evidence. It could have changed over time. I mentioned it in previous chapters. So let's go to first principles. How did the brain evolve? How did it came to be? So if we don't know that on the natural world, well, we do definitely know how artificial intelligence came to be. We know because we have papers about it and we have a theory about it. And well, it came to be the kind of artificial intelligence that works, the kind that we see today, came to be mostly through the development of the artificial neural networks model, starting from the perceptron. I think it was the 60s, 70s, or 80s. I don't exactly remember. And it evolved to what we have today. But the thing about that model is that it wasn't invented with ingenuity. It was invented through mimicry of the natural world. They just looked at what we see in a natural brain and said, what if we built this in a computer? What if we modeled it in matrices and stuff like that? What would happen? Would that work? What would it produce? There wasn't any theory. It wasn't there was a bit of a theory, but not the kind of theory that we have today. Definitely not enough theory that would suggest that it would be successful. You take that one perceptron and multiply it by 1,000, and here you necessarily end up with a human brain. So it was a mimicry. So even if it is telling us how it came to be, it's not sufficient to tell us why that, because we just copied it. The origin, the thing that would answer why like that would be in the natural world. And also note that because we know exactly how artificial intelligence works, and we can track every process that happens insofar as it is non-random, and if it is random, well, we can't explain randomness. Same as it's like we don't have any explanation for that. The same if it's artificial or natural, doesn't matter. So everything that that isn't random in artificial intelligence is explainable, and therefore, even if the artificial intelligence has sentience, then its sentience is completely subservient to the physical processes. So it is epiphenomenal. It doesn't matter if these artificial intelligence machines have sentience. Insofar as they don't integrate randomness too much, then we know for sure that they have no experiential dominance. And I'm not saying that the fact that they use randomness would prove otherwise. I'm just saying that if they don't use randomness, if everything is trackable to physical processes that we can explain, then their experience is epiphenomenal. And now move to the natural brains. Well, natural brains, if you were to assume that they like physicalism, then you would say, yeah, they evolved through natural selection. There was something that wasn't a brain, and it evolved to be like a brain, and then it eventually started to produce sentience. That would be your assumption. But even without rejecting physicalism, go back to the previous commentary video. Sentience is a unification of all elements, and whatever happens in a neuron, in a collection of neurons, in a region of a brain, it's local, and it's one among many. So what that means is that even if these brains produce intelligence, they don't produce that way sentience. Sentience should be all over the place because there's only one of it. I mean, you cannot explain the sentient part through as something that is tracking all the elements that there are in the brain, and so that sentient part is actually necessarily therefore independent of any. If it's not just one particle that is doing all the sentient work, then it is causally independent, and even then, it is causally independent from the rest. What this means is that you get to the understanding that experience is fundamental, not in the sense of like something very, really deep, more that it's simply independent from all these physical processes, necessarily independent, because they are local and experience isn't, because it is one, because it is unified, integrated. So then you assume that experience is fundamental. But if experience is fundamental, then you get to a problem here. When experience is fundamental and experience is, and you are an experiential agent, then the only time there is experiential time. I made videos about that. And if the only time there is experiential time, it means that time cannot progress when there isn't experience. So evolution cannot happen if there isn't experience, but experience can't happen if there isn't a reason for it to intersect with that reality. And for that to exist, there has to be a brain. The brain is the thing that makes experience intersect with a reality. Without it, it won't. It just like experience could reflect on an objective substance and just move on. The brain is the thing that captivates it and keeps it in that wakeful world. So we have a chicken and egg problem. We have we need a brain to captivate experience, and we need experience to produce a brain through natural selection. What that means? It means that the brain, the first brain, didn't emerge from natural selection. It emerged from experiential selection, which I made videos about that before. But what that means is that you wouldn't find a trackable progression of evolutionary processes that produce the brain, the original brain. Like you get to like an initial brain that is captivating enough for experience to be in, and then natural selection could start kick in and optimize stuff. So, but that initial brain didn't come in that fashion. It came through like whatever works approach, without any necessary evolutionary progression. Which means that you should therefore imagine the emergence of the first brain as something like you have a hurricane passing through a city and somehow building a piano. That's the level of unlikelihood that you should expect. So you would not be able to explain that part of the brain, of the function of the brain. It's just not likely. But that's actually a good thing. Even if you want to build artificial brains and artificial. Yes, okay, so that part we will never understand, but also note, it is not working through wakeful processes. It didn't evolve through wakeful processes. So you don't need to find a wakeful process that would justify it. And the wakeful processes, well, they work. We know they work because we have artificial intelligence to show that it does work. So you have this component that is part of the brain that is all over the place. That is doing the integration, but it's not the thing that does all this other thing that artificial intelligence does. So what does it do? Well, nothing that artificial intelligence can do. So what that means is that you can keep that component and replace the parts of the brain, biological, with artificial brains, and it will work fine. Same like if you think about like, let's say, Neuralink and kind of augmentation to the brain. As long as you're not actually integrating with sentience, as long as there's the component that can do this interface between experience and its body, well, you can replace the brain as much as you want. It's not any more special than your hand or your tooth.